Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru. And he's Count Jackula, and today we're gonna talk about Good Boy, a spooky supernatural horror movie about a dog in a haunted house from the dog's point of view. Directed by Ben Leonberg, this movie actually stars Ben's own dog, Indy, as the main character, Indy, in this movie, which I guess makes this an indie horror movie?
Yeah, wait, the director's name is Leonberg?
Yeah.
Like the Leonberger, like the dog, the Leonberger? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay, all right.
So this movie's selling point is that it is a haunted house movie from the perspective of a dog, but the image that conjures in your head, or at least it conjured in my head, was like a Blumhouse style, Insidious style movie, but from the perspective of a dog. And it's not really that. It kind of has its own vibe going on, but I can't get into the nitty gritty of what makes it different without going into the spoiler territory.
Yeah.
This movie is ultimately spooky. It's got many scares. There's a lot of jump scares in it. Very effective jump scares, actually. And the dog, for the most part, is actually really good in this role. There are the usual, problems you have when you have a dog protagonist. You can sometimes tell if you're aware of dog body language when the dog is supposed to be scared, but they're actually like really happy. There's a couple times in the movie where that happens, but for the most part, they do a good job of cutting around that. The movie has a very interesting side conceit with its ghost, where the ghost always initially appears almost like this shadow creature. It reminded me a lot of the Japanese movie Pulse. In the movie Pulse, people just start disappearing, and when they disappear, they leave these like shadow figures on the wall. That's like the remnants of the person they once were, and all that's left is a shadow. In the movie, it's ultimately like a metaphor for loneliness, which actually is very apt for what happens in this movie, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Mainly, it's about a dog trying to save its owner from a ghost.
Yes, and it's a complete love letter to dogs, essentially. It's about a dog's connection to its owner and how that connection goes beyond the normal realm. It goes into the supernatural realm.
Yes.
I actually was thoroughly impressed with this movie. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the movie I had in my head. It doesn't go as hard as the movie I had in my head would go.
It stays at, I don't even know what the movie is rated, but it felt like PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13 is a good way to put it. It never goes super hard R. It never goes too intense.
Yeah.
The main character, the dog, he's safe. He's not who you should be worried about while watching this movie.
Yeah. But if you're like, is it a sad dog story? Yes.
Yes.
It's a very sad dog story.
But from a different angle than sad dog stories usually take.
Yeah, well, it ain't Old Yeller.
It ain't Old Yeller.
Yeah.
No.
No, it gets its tears from another direction.
I really enjoyed this movie. My only real criticisms with the movie are there were times where I felt like, aside from, the moments where the dog is obviously happy, there were times where I felt like some of the effects for the ghosts looked a little wonky. Like you could tell this movie had a very low budget.
Yeah.
With the way it handled it. But I also conceptually liked what it was trying to do with the ghost.
Yeah.
Like again, it reminded me of Pulse, which is a very, very specific atmosphere that you're doing.
Yeah. My biggest problem is that there are some points in the movie where it was hard, because the dog don't talk.
Yeah.
There are some concepts that were really confusing.
Yeah, I get that.
Like there's one point at which some shit starts happening and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And you have to piece together, the dog got a psychic vision that was given to it.
You have situations where sometimes you're trying to figure out, wait, was that a flashback for our dog? Or is he psychically linking with something that used to live in the house beforehand?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not entirely clear, though once you cue into some visual cues, it becomes a little easier to figure out. We'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, because it's hard to talk about that element of the story without delving into what this movie's actually about.
Yeah.
What it's actually about is not actually what the movie is sold as, so it's kind of a surprise when you see the movie. A very sad surprise, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't mean sad as in the movie's bad. I mean sad as in, like, the movie's sad.
Yeah. The movie's a bit of a downer.
It is a bit of a downer, but it's also uplifting in the sense that, like, man, you can tell the person who made this loves their dog.
Yeah.
and loves the connection dogs have to their human companions, and wanted to make a movie that just expressed that purely without any fucking like reservations, and the movie succeeds on that front 100%.
Yeah, and while the cast is extremely limited, it does have one of the usual suspects, which is Larry Fessenden.
Yes, he shows up in a cameo, a surprise cameo in this movie, and it's always great to see him.
Yes.
You know you're watching like an indie gem that needs more eyeballs on it if Larry Fessenden shows up. That's when you know a movie's going to be a cult classic. You know, that's what it's destined. It's destined to be the movie that horror fans are going to be telling their friends they need to watch until their friends finally do, and they're like, man, why didn't I listen to you before?
Yeah.
So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. If you are hearing this and anything about this movie sounds intriguing to you, go check it out.
Yeah. One of the strangest things about this movie is it's actually really short. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. And I think part of its shortness comes from the fact that the dog can't talk.
Yeah.
So most of the dialogue has to be done either through the dog's owner, and there's only really one owner you see in this, contacting their own family members and talking about the weird shit that's happening to them, or it is dialogue that happens with whatever that owner happens to be playing on the TV.
Yes. Yeah, it's a hell of a limitation to work with.
It is. It's a great, like, filmmaking exercise.
It is.
You know, and it's a great way to have to tell a story visually more than being told auditorily. And they actually succeed for the most part, though, again, there are times where it can be a little confusing. So you have to, like, look for the visual cues. And we'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, because in the spoiler section, I can reveal stuff and, like, that will help.
I don't know how they could have done it, but there were a few moments where we could have used the exposition variant.
I get that. I get that. Even still, there are times where there's some clunky dialogue coming from the companion in the movie, the human companion, because the human companion has to constantly talk to the dog, which I get. Like, I talk to my pets too. I totally get that. But he has to, like, talk to the dog in an almost unnatural way to express stuff that the audience needs to know.
Yeah.
And that could be a little clunky, but for a first-time feature film, they knocked this out of the park. I actually look forward to whatever movie they want to make next, because this movie shows a whole lot of promise. It's like a solid 7 or 8 out of 10, and I can totally see how, with the right budget, with the right cast, this person can go on to make something that's just a pure 10 out of 10, especially if they imbue the amount of heart that they imbued into this movie into anything they make going forward. Good Boy was in theaters, though now it is currently on demand. Pick your poison, go and rent it, check it out for yourself, especially before the spooky season ends, because it's a good spooky season movie, and enjoy. Again, the dog does not die in this feature. There is a bunch of nail-biting sequences in which the dog is in danger, but really, the dog is not the thing you have to worry about in this movie, and I can't stress that enough. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers.
There is more than one ghost in the story.
Yes.
One ghost is the ghost that is stalking the owner. The other is the ghost of the fucking uncle's dog.
Yeah, the previous owner of the house's dog, his uncle or grandpa or whoever he was supposed to be, he had a dog just like Indy, the same type of like golden retriever. So there are times in which Indy actually psychically links with that dead dog that used to live there and has flashbacks to what that dog went through.
Yeah.
But it can be confusing at times because they're both golden retrievers. They're both actually different looking golden retrievers, but initially it's hard to tell because you're dealing with a lot of dark lighting.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. But the main thing that you need to look for when you're watching this movie in order to tell the two golden retrievers apart, one of them always has a bandana around his neck. That's the one that's dead.
Yeah, that's the ghost dog. With samurai.
Whereas Indy does not have the bandana, and that's how you can tell the two apart. You gotta look for that visual cue, otherwise you're gonna be lost. And the movie actually draws attention to that bandana because there's a point in which Indy finds the bandana and touches it and has another psychic vision thing happen. happen. The main thing about the movie that we've been kind of talking around, because it's not really in the promotional material for the movie, so it does feel like it's a spoiler you're supposed to experience when you watch the movie, is that the main human in this movie, not the main character, because Indy's the main character, but the main human companion in this movie, Indy's owner, has
lung cancer.
And throughout the movie, you're actually wondering how much of what's happening is actually a ghost that's haunting Indy and haunting Indy's owner, or how much of it is him picking up on the cues of his owner slowly dying.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to figure out, is this literally happening? Is this metaphorical? What's going on? I initially thought that the movie had two interpretations. One is the purely supernatural one, and one is the purely medical one. But having sat on it for a little while, I realized that the actual ending of this movie doesn't have two interpretations. It actually has one real one.
Yeah.
And that's the interpretation in which the owner was dying and the owner is medically fucked. But there's also a supernatural element to this story. And I realized that because how could Indy connect with this other dog, this supernatural
if there wasn't
dog,
a supernatural
if there wasn't a supernatural element to that. And I realized that the entity that's stalking the main characters, stalking the main character, the dog, and the owner, it's death.
Yeah.
It's death himself.
Yeah, it's a Grim Reaper scenario.
The dog is noticing every time death is creeping around the corner because the owner is on the verge of death. Indy is trying to protect his owner from death. And there's only so much a dog can do. Death is a supernatural entity, and it is a fact of life.
The dog goes so far as to go into the underworld to drag the owner back out.
Yes.
But it doesn't work.
So earlier when I said it's not the dog you need to worry about, that's because the person who actually dies at the end of this story is not the dog for a change, it's the owner.
Yeah.
The owner dies and gets dragged into the underworld by death, and Indy literally goes into the underworld and tries to drag him back.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he can't stop death. He is just a dog.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a story about a dog's love and connection to its owner, but also a dog facing the sad reality that you can't stop death.
Yeah, it's a normal sad dog story with the script flipped.
Yes, instead of
the boy learning about death because he can't save the dog, the dog can't save the guy.
Yes, and that is actually a very novel twist, honestly. Yeah. I really liked that. Now, some of my favorite scenes in this movie aren't actually the scary scenes, though there is some good scenes, like the scene when he's in the doghouse and being stalked by both foxes and the entity.
Yeah.
That is a pretty creepy scene. But my actual favorite scene in this movie is the scene in which the owner himself realizes he has died and he's a ghost.
Yeah.
There's this really heart-wrenching scene. Indy, he's trying to get into the house because he knows the entity is stalking his owner, and he gets inside and he finds his owner and they have this nice, lovely reunion. The owner turns around and sees himself dead on the bed.
Yeah.
And Indy hops into the bed and sits next to his dead owner. It's so fucking heartbreaking. Yeah. But it's my favorite scene in the movie because it's the scene in the movie that really unlocks the rest of the movie. It tells you that both the supernatural element is real, but so is the medical element.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie from that point on is Indy trying to stop death from taking his owner away for good.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting contrast because Indy has all these psychic connections to the dog that used to live there. And a good question with those flashbacks is, what is that dog trying to warn him about? At the end of the movie, one of the things Indy finds when he goes into the basement is the dead corpse of the other dog.
Yeah.
The idea being that dog did not let his owner go.
Yeah.
Indy eventually had to let his owner go and let his owner die and pass on to the other side.
Right, because he's not dead.
That dog did not, and so ended up dying in the hole with the portal to the underworld.
Yeah.
The dog was trying to warn Indy not to do that.
Yeah.
The entire story. Indy chooses to not make that same mistake. There's this great scene in which he's at the bottom of the stairs and the owner's sister shows up and asks him to come up the stairs. And symbolically, there's the dead corpse corpse of the other dog in front of him that obviously only he can see and she can't even see it. What choice are you going to make? Are you going to be like that dog, or are you going to go up the stairs to the sister and continue your life? It's actually a nice little life lesson about death and how you can't control everything and you have to let go and move on with your life, but from the perspective of a dog. And I thought that was actually very good.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the weakest parts of the movie are some of like the scary stuff, but even that stuff still works. It's just like, it's not like as scary as like a movie like Insidious, you know? It's not as scary
it's not
as
like Paranormal Activity or something.
No,
like
it's not like that. It's not because the dog is the protagonist. It's obviously because this movie was working with a very limited budget and they could only do so much. And they did a lot with a little, and I got to commend them for that. I would love to see what this filmmaker does if they were given like a real budget for something.
Yeah. Like good, like $10 million, you know?
And make something like truly spectacular. I would love to see that. And in order for that to happen, though, you need to go out there and check out Good Boy for yourself. So feel free to do that.
Yeah. Definitely check it out. It's worth it.
Do you have any final thoughts on Good Boy?
Woof.
2 wolves up.
2 wolves up.
And with that said, my fellow gorehounds, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
I'm here on YouTube. I stream every weekday at around 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You should come and check me out.
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on various social media platforms, but these days, I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of our videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And with that said, my fellow gorehounds, if you made it this far into the video, happy Halloween. You know, let's take a little moment to enjoy the fact that it's Halloween season. In fact, hashtag happy Halloween.
We didn't make as many dog jokes as I thought we were going to make.
Nope.
They didn't really...
I guess if they're looking for that, they were barking up the wrong tree.
Oh. What? Why? Why did I even? I walked right into that one.